In this video, we're going to go over Darkrai and Giratina mirror matchups with the deck that I have been using to climb in the Masterball Rank. Here are the win conditions when considering a mirror matchup. If you do not hit these win conditions, you might be a bit behind, so then you're going to need to play a bit more creatively. So number 1, ideally you would need to have Giratina on turn 1 and Darkrai before your second Dark Energy. Number 2, you're going to need to go first as an advantage in mirror matchups. Otherwise you are going to be behind, and just keep that into consideration. Number 3, you want to kill your opponent's Giratina first before your Giratina dies. And when we're talking about Giratinas, we're talking about the Giratinas with energy attached to them. Number 4, you're going to want your Darkrai to tank damage before your Giratina does, ideally. Number 5, you're going to want your Darkrai on the bench when you start attacking with Giratina if you want to sweep the board. So let's get started. So recap on what's going on in this matchup. We are going first, and we actually have the perfect setup. We have Giratina that we are not charging up, that is going to be tanking the front lines. We have Giratina in the back lines, and we have a Darkrai already in our bench. And you notice that I put the cape on my Giratina, so I already know that I'm going to be eventually moving my Darkrai to attack the opponent's monster first, before then using Giratina to sweep afterwards. And then on this turn, I use Sabrina to pull one of the opponent's monster out that has energy, because that's really important. Ideally, you want to be doing damage to the monsters that they are going to be using to attack us. So now we are in great shape. We're able to pull the Darkrai out of the bench, and then we started doing damage to it with our Darkrai's energy attachment. So over here, I put the giant cape on the Giratina, so it pushes the Giratina's HP out of Darkrai's knockout zone. And this is essential, because it allows us to generate energy for one more turn. And pretty much at this point, the game is already over. There's almost absolutely no way for us to lose unless they hit a lucky Team Rocket Grunt, if they even have one in their deck. And this is why there are Team Rocket Grunts in my deck. Because if you're winning already to your win conditions, another red or a potion won't really make you win harder. And if you're losing, I personally don't believe that a red or a potion will allow you to swing the match into your favor. Whereas a Team Rocket Grunt would potentially be able to do that. And I will showcase that in my later games in this video. Speaking of videos, if you have enjoyed this video so far, please consider hitting that like button. That really helps me out a lot. But anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so what is going on in this game? We are going first, so that is a plus, but we are missing a Darkrai. We have about 2 turns to get a Darkrai, otherwise we're going to be really behind and most likely lose this game. Our Giratina is taking a lot of damage, but luckily enough we do have a potion and a cape that we can use to buff up the HP. I did get a little greedy last turn by not using it, since I wanted to play a little bit more aggressively and see how the state of the board builds into. But now I am going to use the cape and the potion to just ensure that I don't get absolutely screwed over by a Mars. And considering that the other deck is also a Darkrai and Giratina, they are most likely running a Mars. But if you do know that the other deck doesn't have enough space for a Mars, and normally doesn't run a Mars, then you can be a little bit more greedy. And I chose to be a little bit more greedy since I was already in such a bad state. But now we are in great shape. We got our Darkrai before we had to place the second Dark Energy into our Giratina. Instead, we can actually use it on a Darkrai and do some damage. And now since we went first, we are most likely going to be attacking first. And why that is the case is because even though the Darkrai can technically attack first, if the opponent uses a leaf or something, most likely they are not going to, because if you leave your Giratina at 2 second energies, you're most likely not going to be using your Giratina for the rest of the game, or else you're going to be really far behind. So either way, I think the state of the board looks really great, and we're most likely going to win the game. So for this game, it's actually a pretty fun game that I wanted to showcase. We are going second, which is putting us behind, and our Giratina actually takes a lot of damage and eventually dies first. But I just want to show you guys how trainers can make a difference, how trainer usage and how creative you can get with your trainers can really make a difference and potentially swing the game to your favor. So over here, I am once again showcasing how greedy I am being with holding the cards in my hand when potentially my opponent has a Mars. And that's because I think that the side of the board looks really bad, and I have an option whether to take the cape to buff up my Giratina to push it past the KO range, or to put the Rocky home and have it do a little bit more damage before it gets knocked out. So we were able to get our Darkrai before we had to place the second Dark Energy onto the Giratina, but we are still behind by a lot, considering that our Giratina is going to be taking a lot more damage and the fact that we went second. So that's why I chose to put the Rocky helmet onto the Giratina, because it's most likely going to die. So this is where I think the opponent misplayed horribly. This is where, if they were to watch my video, I think they would have won this match. So instead of retreating with the Darkrai and attacking with the Giratina to knock out my Giratina, he should have just attacked with the Darkrai and hoped that I didn't have a potion. And even if I did have a potion, I probably would not have been able to push it out of KO range. They would have just put the energy on the other Darkrai on the bench and knock out my Giratina. And since I can't threaten his Giratina with my Darkrai and kill it within one turn, what he would have done would have been to charge up his Giratina, take one hit from my Darkrai would have taken 20 damage from the Rocky helmet, and then that would have put him down to KO range with one auto attack by Giratina and an energy attached to one of his Darkrai's. And as you can see, the points that I just brought up are actually the winning conditions number 3, 4, and 5. And this is the fun part where I used a combination of Sabrina and Cyrus afterwards to win me the game where I had no business of winning. So what is happening here is actually pretty interesting. So even though I went first and was able to get both my Giratina and my Darkrai up and running, the main issue is that my Giratina is the one up in the front taking the damage, and I don't have a leaf to pull it back. Whereas the opponent's Darkrai is the one taking their damage. So the opponent actually had one out. If they had a red, they could have gotten the 3 energy for the Darkrai to attack, killed my Giratina with the red, sacrificed the Darkrai, to my Darkrai, and then charge up the remaining second energy on their Giratina, and then attack me and sweep me with energy on the other remaining Darkrai and the Giratina attack. But instead, I was able to pull out the Team Rocket Grunt to essentially secure the victory once I got the energies off of the Darkrai. So here is another interesting situation. Because I don't have my remaining Darkrai to do a total of 150 damage in one turn, the opponent can actually push for a tie, or if they have a healing pot, they can actually win the game. But instead, Team Rocket Grunt was able to pull through once again and secure the victory. Okay, so this is gonna be the last game I'm gonna be showcasing, and unfortunately this was also the first video I recorded, so it doesn't have sound. My apologies. But I think this is a really great game because it really shows that if you stick to as much of the win conditions that I listed out, you can eventually win the game. And it also showcases the power of the Team Rocket Grunt, how it can really turn bad draws into your advantage. Fortunately, I got my Darkrai one turn too late, but fortunately, I was able to get one energy off of their Giratina, and also the fact that I was able to put up my other Giratina to tank most of the damage. I was able to keep the Giratina that I was going to attack with relatively healthy, and that was what was able to allow me to win the game despite the fact that I drew my Darkrai one turn too late.